I laugh because these words are tired.
Amina was known throughout the village long before the curse ever found her. Her name traveled faster than her footsteps, carried on the lips of women at the stream, men at the square, and children running barefoot through the red dust. She was beautiful in the way the early morning sun is beautiful, bright, impossible to ignore, and sometimes harsh on the eyes. Her skin glowed like polished bronze, her back was always straight, and her chin was forever lifted as though she were looking beyond the roofs of mud houses toward a future no one else could see. From a young age, Amina knew she was different. While other girls bent respectfully when elders spoke, she stood tall. While they lowered their voices, she let hers ring sharp and clear. It was not that she did not understand respect, it was that she believed respect should flow toward her, not away from her. She had grown up hearing whispers of her beauty, her sharp tongue, her confidence. Those whispers became songs in her ears, and those songs shaped her heart. Her mother often warned her in gentle tones, reminding her that pride was a fire that could warm or destroy. Amina would listen with half an ear, nodding while her thoughts wandered. She believed warnings were meant for the weak, for those who feared life instead of challenging it. She believed her strength set her apart from the rest of the village girls who followed rules without question. The village itself was old, older than memory, older than stories written on bark or sung by moonlight. The earth there was sacred, every tree rooted in history, every path worn by generations of footsteps. Elders were the keepers of these memories. Their words were treated like law, their silence like judgment. To disrespect an elder was not just an insult to a person, but an offense to the ancestors who watched from beyond. Amina knew this. Everyone did. Yet knowing and believing are not always the same. On the day everything began, the sun rose heavy and red, as if burdened by a secret. The air was thick, and the village buzzed with restless energy. Women prepared food earlier than usual, children were unusually quiet, and even the goats seemed uneasy. There was to be a gathering at the village square, a meeting called by the elders to discuss matters of land and tradition. Amina woke late that morning. She stretched lazily on her mat, unbothered by the sounds of activity outside. When she finally stepped out, she took her time washing, oiling her skin, arranging her wrapper with careful pride. She admired her reflection in a small bowl of water, smiling at herself as though greeting an old friend. As she walked toward the square, heads turned, some in admiration, some in concern. A few older women exchanged glances, their lips tightening. They had seen this confidence before, had watched it grow sharper with age. They feared where it might lead. The square was crowded when Amina arrived. Elders sat beneath the ancient tree, their faces lined like maps of forgotten journeys. The rest of the village stood or squatted at a respectful distance. A hush fell as Amina pushed her way closer, unbothered by the murmurs she stirred. An elder rose slowly, leaning on a carved staff. The voice that followed was deep and steady, carrying the weight of years. Words of caution filled the air, about land boundaries, about the need for unity, about respect for customs that had preserved the village through famine, war, and sorrow. Amina listened at first, her arms folded, but as the elder spoke, something in her tightened. She felt the words were too slow, too old, too limiting. When the elder warned the younger generation against pride and disobedience, Amina felt as though the words were aimed directly at her. Before anyone could stop her, she laughed. It was not a soft laugh. It rang out sharp and clear, slicing through the silence like a blade. Gasps followed. The elder paused, eyes narrowing, scanning the crowd until they landed on Amina. "What do you find amusing, child?" the elder asked. Amina stepped forward, her heart pounding, not with fear, but excitement. "I laugh because these words are tired," she said boldly. "The world has changed, but you speak as though it has not. Respect is earned, not demanded because of age. A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. Some covered their mouths, others lowered their heads, afraid to witness what might follow. The elder's grip tightened on the staff. "Mind your tongue," came the calm reply. "The tongue can build a home or burn it down." Amina scoffed. "Fear has made everyone here small. I will not bow just because you expect me to." Silence fell, thick and suffocating. The elder studied her for a long moment, eyes dark with something deeper than anger. Slowly, the elder sat back down. "Leave," the elder said quietly, "and remember this day." Amina turned away, her head high, her steps proud. She felt victorious, powerful. She did not see the tears in her mother's eyes or the way the elders touched the earth in silent prayer. That night, the village slept uneasily. Dogs whimpered. The wind whispered strange sounds through the trees. Amina dreamed of standing alone in a wide field, calling out, but hearing only echoes answer her back. The first sign came the next morning. Amina woke with a strange heaviness in her limbs. Her body felt slow, as though weighed down by invisible hands. She brushed it off, blaming sleep, but when she tried to stand, a sharp pain shot through her legs, forcing her back down. By midday, whispers began. Amina, who once moved like a gazelle, now walked with effort. Her laughter grew less frequent, her steps uncertain. She grew irritable, snapping at anyone who asked how she felt. Days passed, and the heaviness worsened. Her beauty remained, but something in her eyes changed. They lost their sparkle, replaced by confusion and frustration. She stopped going out as often, retreating into herself. At night, strange dreams returned. She saw elders standing in a circle, their faces hidden. She heard her own voice shouting, mocking, laughing, then fading into silence. She woke drenched in sweat, her heart racing. Soon the pain spread beyond her body. People began avoiding her. Children stopped greeting her. Conversations fell silent when she approached. The village that once admired her now watched from a distance. Her mother begged her to seek forgiveness, to speak with the elders. Amina refused. "This is just sickness," she said. "It will pass." But it did not. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Amina tried to fetch water. Halfway there, her legs gave way, and she fell hard onto the earth. Dust coated her skin, and for the first time no one rushed to help her. She lay there, staring at the darkening sky, her pride cracking under the weight of fear. That night the dreams changed. She saw the elder's eyes, not angry, but disappointed. She heard a voice, not loud, but firm, telling her that respect was not weakness, and humility was not loss. When she woke, tears streamed down her face. Her body ached, her heart heavier than ever. For the first time, Amina wondered if her strength had been a lie she told herself. As the days dragged on, her condition worsened. She could no longer walk with support. Her once sharp tongue fell silent, replaced by long hours of staring into space. The village began to speak of curses in hushed tones, of ancestral anger stirred by disrespect. Amina heard the whispers and felt fear coil in her chest. She thought of that day at the square, the laughter, the bold words. For the first time, regret crept into her heart. Yet pride does not die easily. She told herself she would endure, that she would not bow. But deep inside, something had begun to shift. The pain was teaching her lessons she refused to learn before. Each lonely hour, each whispered rumor chipped away at the walls she had built around herself. One night, incapable of sleep, Amina dragged herself outside. The moon hung low and bright. She knelt on the cold earth, her hands trembling. For the first time in her life, she bowed her head, not to an elder, not to the village, but to the truth she could no longer deny. Her voice broke as she whispered into the night, unsure who was listening, but desperate to be heard. And somewhere between the earth and the sky, the ancestors listened. The night Amina knelt beneath the moon, something unseen shifted. The wind slowed, the insects fell silent, and the village seemed to hold its breath. Amina did not know if anyone heard her broken whispers, but she felt the earth beneath her palms grow cold, as though it were listening. She remained there until dawn. When morning came, her body was weaker than before, but her heart felt strangely open, raw in a way it had never been. Her mother found her outside, knees muddy, eyes swollen from tears. She said nothing at first, only helped Amina back inside and covered her with a cloth. There were questions in her eyes, but also hope. Word spread quickly that Amina had bowed to the ground in the night. Some said it meant nothing. Others believed it was the first crack in a wall that had stood too long. The elders heard too, and they spoke quietly among themselves, weighing silence against mercy. As the days passed, Amina's condition worsened before it improved. The pain sharpened, her strength faded further, and she became dependent on others for even the smallest tasks. Each moment of reliance felt like a thorn to her pride. She wanted to pull away, to insist she was still strong, still capable, but her body betrayed her again and again. For the first time, she was forced to listen. She listened to the rhythm of the village she had once ignored, the laughter of children, the songs of women pounding grain, the low voices of elders telling stories beneath the tree at dusk. She listened to her mother's quiet prayers at night, whispered with trembling faith, and slowly, painfully, she listened to her own thoughts. She saw herself clearly for the first time, not the image she had admired in reflections, but the girl who laughed at wisdom, who mistook boldness for strength and silence for weakness. The realization burned, but it also softened her. One afternoon, as the sun leaned westward, Amina asked her mother to help her walk to the village square. Her mother froze. "Are you sure?" she asked gently. Amina nodded, though fear churned in her chest. Each step was agony. The earth felt farther away than it ever had, the journey longer than it should have been. Villagers watched quietly as she passed, surprise flickering across their faces. The proud girl now leaned heavily on another's arm, her eyes lowered, her steps slow. When she reached the ancient tree, the elders were already seated. The air felt thick, heavy with memory. Amina's knees trembled, and not only from weakness. This was the place where her fall had begun. She struggled forward and lowered herself to the ground. Slowly, deliberately, she bowed. "I have come to speak," she said, her voice hoarse. No one interrupted her. The silence pressed against her ears, waiting. "I was wrong," Amina continued. The words felt strange, fragile, yet freeing. "I thought respect made me small. I thought pride made me strong. I see now that I was blind." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. She lifted her head just enough to meet the elder's gaze. "I laughed where I should have listened. I spoke where I should have learned. If my actions brought pain to this land, then let that pain end with me." Tears slipped down her cheeks, unhidden, unashamed. "I ask for forgiveness, not because I deserve it, but because I need it." The elders exchanged glances. One rose slowly, the same whose words she had mocked. His eyes held neither anger nor triumph, only depth. "Pride closes the ears. Pain opens them," he said. He stepped closer, tapping his staff against the earth. "You have tasted the weight of your actions. That is the beginning of wisdom, not the end." The elder placed his hand gently on Amina's head. "Go," he said, "serve, learn. Humility is not spoken once, it is lived." That night, Amina dreamed again, but this time she did not stand alone. She saw herself walking beside others, her head lowered not in shame, but in understanding. When she woke, the pain in her legs had eased, just a little. The change was slow, almost cruel in its patience. Amina did not wake healed. There was no sudden miracle. Instead, she was given something harder: time. She began to help where she could. From her mat, she sorted grains. Later, she swept courtyards, leaning on a stick. She greeted elders first, her voice soft, her eyes respectful. She listened more than she spoke. Each act felt small, but together they reshaped her. Some villagers were skeptical, others were kind. A few whispered that the curse was loosening its grip. Amina did not concern herself with any of it. For the first time, she was not trying to be seen. Weeks passed. Strength returned in fragments. Her steps steadied. The pain dulled to an ache, then to a memory. With each sunrise, she felt lighter, not because she was regaining what she lost, but because she was releasing what had weighed her down. One evening she returned to the ancient tree, not to speak, but to sit. Children gathered nearby, curious. An elder began to tell a story, one about a river that refused to bend and dried up, while smaller streams flowed on because they yielded. Amina listened, smiling softly. When the story ended, the elder looked at her. "What did you learn?" She bowed her head. "That strength without respect destroys itself." The elder nodded. In time, Amina fully recovered, but she was not the same girl who once walked with her chin lifted too high. Her beauty remained, but it was quieter now, warmer. People noticed how she listened, how she helped without being asked, how she spoke with care. The village accepted her again, not because she was flawless, but because she was changed. On a clear morning, many months later, the elders called the village together. Amina stood among them, not at the front, not hidden, simply present. "Let this story be remembered," one elder said, "not as a curse, but as a lesson. Respect is the bridge between generations. When it breaks, all fall." Amina felt the weight of those words settle gently on her heart. That night she walked beneath the moon once more. This time she did not kneel in desperation. She stood calmly, breathing in the quiet, grateful for the pain that had taught her what pride never could. Respect, she had learned, was not a burden. It was a gift.